Why are people stuck on hearsay and ask questions about what are only beliefs?
Okay. Yeah. I think people don't realize they do that. Let me say it this way. There's a lot of literature out there, spiritual books, and sometimes whatever podcasters or I don't know, people talking, and there's a lot of belief systems, a lot of assertions. So you're reading about this from this guru or that spiritual teacher or this personal growth advocate or whatever, and then you're believing them. But the problem, see, it's like when you ask a question like, what is the nature of nirvana? Or why, why do we reincarnate, and how can we get out of reincarnation? You don't know what the fuck you're talking about, right? Come on. You see, that's total hearsay. Or, when did I take a body, and what form did I, whatever. How do I get enlightened by going past the fifth bardo of the death cult, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's all kinds of stuff people believe in. None of it is worth anything. Just wanted to get that off my chest. You see, the problem is the whole responsibility. The view is wrong. You're depending on, if you're doing that with my books, cut it out. All right? You're depending on as if what's being said is true. And then you're taking that like, okay, that's the truth. Why? Because it said so in this book, or the spiritual teacher said so, or, this belief system said so, and they outlined it. And this guy has hierarchy with circles inside circles inside circles. And it must be true because he said so. No! None of it is true. You say, well, why do they say it? Are they lying? Well, let's be generous. A lot of times people don't know when they're saying something that's not true. Okay? People will develop a belief system, and sometimes, of course, they're, like you, if you go down that road, probably not you, but the person next to you, they might, like, say they're indoctrinated in Buddhist in Buddhist philosophy and teachings. Okay, say. Then they will take that as gospel, won't they? Just like they would if they were indoctrinated into the Christian hearsay and beliefs, you see? Or what comes from Ramana Maharshi, or what comes from Krishnamurti. Now, you see, when you talk about somebody like Krishnamurti versus the Buddhist teachings, well, there's actually a good, solid distinction there. Because Krishnamurti, although I thought he tended to be a bit intellectual, on the intellectual side, that could be a misreading on my part, because I never studied with him. Okay, I just, I read some stuff, heard some stuff, some talk, whatever. But at least he was trying to ground it in a reality that he was himself either experiencing or trying to experience, and that he wanted his listeners to also experience. See, now that is a different endeavor than believing in stuff. Okay? Anyway, now I understand. Look, I'm trying to remember. I used to believe in stuff. At one point in my life, I believed in the tooth fairy. Now, that was all hearsay, wasn't it? And a little bit of logic could have worked that one out for me, but hey, I'm getting a quarter or whatever in the money, under my pillow. I'm not going to question it. Okay, tooth fairy. Anyway, it was fun. It's like, Easter egg hunting, right? what does Easter egg hunting have to do with anything Christian at all? Nothing. It doesn't. It's a pagan thing, right? It's a fertility ritual. What it has to do with Easter is like, you see, we just make shit up. People make stuff up, okay? But when you're a kid and you're finding Easter eggs, it's really a lot of fun. I want to get out and find these Easter eggs. And, oh, look here, nice colored Easter egg like that. And they always seem to taste better when I found them and gathered in my little basket, whatever, because we like that. It's like, a fortune cookie. We like the fortune cookie. Who doesn't go to a Chinese meal, get a fortune cookie, and you open it up and you want to read what's in it. And sometimes you're a little disappointed. But a lot of times you say, oh, look at this, even has really nothing to do with you. But, you want to press the point because, it's a fortune cookie. In any case, it's fun. Like it. But when it comes to the truth, you shouldn't be fooled so easily. When it comes to existential matters like, who are you? What are you? What is life? What is existence? What's the nature of the universe? Blah, 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 right? You shouldn't be fooled so easily. Okay. All right. So now, let's see here. If we, what's your responsibility in the matter? Well, your responsibility is, hear what other people say. Okay. You've done that, right? You listen to this, you listen to that. Cool. But your responsibility is not to believe any of it. It is not to believe any of it. I thought I was really clear on that. All right? But apparently, I've gotten a lot of questions from various people that they didn't get that message. All right? And they're basing their questions on believing in stuff. Believing in all these. Anyway, so let's see. Say you're a physicist and you're stuck on the Big Bang Theory, yeah? Saying that's a really good theory, whatever, and it has some explanation, blah, blah, blah. See, now, if you do your science, your physics, based on having to do with the Big Bang Theory, I'm assuming there's some connection there. See, but based on the Big Bang Theory, you're being irresponsible. Why? Because that's not your job. Your job is not to acquiesce to what somebody else came up with as a theory, even if it's a very viable theory. You learned it, you worked on it, you see the logic to it, you see the proofs about it and stuff like that. Great. But that's not your job. Your job is to think past the theory. Say, okay, now what's true? What's true? So, sure, yeah, you bounce off the Big Bang Theory and you bounce off the Little Whimper Theory. Whatever, invent your own. See, but you see, you follow what I'm saying here? You have to consider the matter newly, freshly, not what you're handed by other people, for crying out loud. Well, and that, of course, reminds me of one of my favorite sayings that I'm sure you've all heard many times if you're, listen to me much. And that is from a warrior, a samurai master, swordsman, when he said, a warrior is measured according to this, that he learns from the dregs of the ancients, but extracts clear liquid from them. See, now, you understand? That's your job as a warrior in this case, or as a contemplator, as somebody investigating what's true. Your job, sure, you're going to listen to other people. Why? Because you're stupid. Come on, let's face it. We're all stupid, and it's good to get some ideas from other people, because they're going to come up with ideas and theories and beliefs and stuff like that. And some people go way back, and some people have some kind of authority because they've been there, done that, and it's good to listen to them. So good. But now once you've done that, okay, and in the spiritual domain especially, you see, it's all dregs. Do you understand what dregs are? That's the stuff left in the bottom of the barrel after people have drank all the liquid. It's alcohol, all right, in this case, all right? See? And they drank all that, and nobody wants the dregs. They leave you with the dregs. That's, history. That's kind of how things go. So Christians leave you with the Christian dregs, and Buddhists leave you with the Buddhist dregs, and Vipassana leaves you with the Vipassana. I guess that's Buddhist too, but anyway, whatever. And then newly invented and newly minted things by new people. Still, it's just hearsay to you. And you have to start there. Now, sometimes you trust somebody. You probably trust me because you're listening to this thing here. So you trust somebody. Okay, fine. Now, why? Did they earn your trust? Hopefully. Say, now what are they doing? Now, sometimes you trust people wrongly. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is, oh, they're saying things I like. Therefore, I trust them. It must be true. I really like what they're saying. It gives me a nice positive self-image. It gives me a wonderful view of the universe. And I really love that. So I'm going to go with that. This is the wrong perspective, the wrong view. Say, that's what they're providing for you. Okay, who knows? Maybe it's true, maybe it's not true. The chances are it's not true. But in any case, because, you like it, always be suspicious of the stuff you like. Always be suspicious of the stuff that agrees with you. Okay? In any case, you see, that's not your job, whether you like it or not. Your job is to question it. Your job is to ask if it's really true. All right? Yeah, maybe they'll help you out. Maybe some of the Buddhist texts or maybe a workshop you do here or something like that helps you out. Points you in directions you wouldn't have thought of by yourself. All right, cool. That's very useful. Okay? But you can't abnegate your responsibility in the matter just because. Well, I trust these things, therefore I'll just believe it. Why? What? What is that? What does that do? It does nothing. It does nothing. You don't know. That's the point. That's where you have to start. I should write a book on that. In any case, look, say you believe in God. Yeah. Oh, and there's a whole book on that. It's probably more than one. But I was thinking of the Bible. In any case, you say, okay, you believe in God. All right. What does that do? Well, it makes me feel good. Makes me feel good about my death because I'm going to go to heaven, if you're a Christian, right? See? Okay. Kind of eases pain, yeah. And I believe in God. I want this reality of I don't know, a benign or not, overseer seeing everything I do and knowing everything and blah, 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 and having a reason for all this being here and stuff like that. And that sounds good. I like that. I like that idea. All right. But what have you accomplished? Maybe, you see, if you really, really believe and you get into it, you change your state, you see? You change your perspective, okay? Like a born-again Christian, right? See, they changed their perspective. They were a criminal scumbag or whatever like that, became born-again Christian, and now they're working in a soup kitchen, helping people, whatever, right? Okay. That's a change of perspective and a change in their life, and it's useful for them, and it works. Is it true? Well, come on. Is it true? No, we're not talking about the truth. We're talking about belief. See, you don't know, they don't know, and you don't take the time to find out, and you don't take the responsibility to find out, for yourself. You see, it's easier just to believe, and if the belief changes your state in a good way, you go with it. And you validate that as true. Holy moly. This is not my teaching. When I as you probably heard, I left and I lived in the jungle up on Mauna Kea for a few years by myself, completely isolated. And there was a before that time and after that time, and the significant aspect about this work here was when I left to go live there, I assumed there were other people doing this work. I assumed there were other people pretty much, just giving the same kind of value, and people could study in different places and like that. See, I again abdicated my responsibility to find out if that was true or not. Okay, but I just assumed because I saw this teacher, that teacher, I saw these people doing this work, this big, and okay, good. I thought it was it was good, it was useful, etc. But then I made a mistake. I assumed because some people were doing good work, and a lot of charlatans, but some people were doing good work, okay, they were doing the same work. You see the problem there? See, when I came out from the jungle and started to work again, listen to people and look around, it became pretty obvious to me that nobody was doing what I was doing. Nobody. It was gone. It was absent from the discourse. Okay? It wasn't occurring. I couldn't find it anywhere. I was dismayed by that. I said, holy Christ. Why do so many good people and so many earnest people who are trying to do good work, why did they miss something very important? How come they're missing this very important aspect? Now, what is the very important aspect I'm speaking about? Well, that could be a long story, but let's try and shorten it, okay? The very important aspect I'm speaking about is, how do I say? Honoring the truth beyond belief, and here's the important part that's missed. Honoring the truth beyond you, beyond yourself, and beyond anything that's good for you. Okay? See, and pretty much everybody misses that part. They don't honor the truth. There's more to the story than this, okay? But I'm trying to shorten it up. Okay? They focus on maybe what's true, maybe, and in some places, some practices, they focus on participation, which is essential. In other words, the people participating and not just being followers of some belief system or other. Followers are useless, okay? They're lemmings. Lemmings? Whatever, anyway. Okay, so you got the picture. In any case, it's no, I don't want followers myself. Follow me, I'll hit you in the head with a stick. Okay? I want participants. I want people doing the work. That's why I'm here. If I'm not doing the work, there is no need for me. I'll go away. All right? It's not far. I just live right in the other room here. In any case, so you're starting to follow this. Like, what's good for you? What's better for you? How do you improve yourself? How do you make yourself happy? All bullshit! Oh, that's harsh. My golly. Why would you say something like that? Well, the reason I say it that way is because people are so trapped in that, and that's the flaw. That's not the truth. That's what's good for you. That's the same as self-survival. Do you understand? Everybody, you've heard me talk about self-survival, right? Probably. If you're listening to this, or if you're new, hey, a new notion here. What is self-survival? Okay, you can think about it. It's all about you. Your survival. At you getting better. I want to believe in it. I want to feel good. I want it to be wonderful for me. Or even, I want to get enlightened. Who cares about you? What? But I just said I want to get enlightened. Yeah, you're focusing on the wrong thing. I'm sorry. You see, you're focusing on you. Don't you get it yet? Okay. Not the truth. You see the difference? See, all that stuff that caters to you, that caters to us, that caters to life, that caters to getting better, that caters to, being more effective and getting laid or whatever it is, all that stuff that caters to that, feeling good, being loved. Good, fine. That's survival. That's self. Self is the operative word there in the survival, in self-survival. Anyway, I'm just saying. See, this is a mistake, in my view. In any case, you see, And it's more than that. I'm trying to tell you why, even the good work isn't often, falls into this mistake. Okay. I have seen in my own past. I've seen my own past. You see, people want to sell something, or what, they want to say, let's sell this workshop. But people can't relate to what you're doing here. Let's alter it, change it so it does something for them. I said, oh, okay, I could do something for them, and then we'll change the name and we'll try to do it. See how this helps you out? See? And then try to sprinkle the truth in there somewhere. See? As we go, the truth will set you free. But you see, the end of that sentence is the truth will set you free of you. And nobody ends that sentence because they don't know that. See? They think the truth will set you free of burdens or things that you don't like, you see, or limitations or some such. Cool. And guess who that's all about? See, so in any case, like I say, it's more than that, but that kind of gives you a sense, of a direction. You see that was being missed with the work. Okay, is that real honesty, real authenticity, and moving in a direction that's not believing. Okay, not honesty and authenticity because I honestly believe in something, or I honestly believe in a system or something, and practice. I actually practice it, so I'm authentic. Okay, that's good. Good for you or good for them or whatever, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about an honesty beyond belief, not based on hearsay. Not based on hearsay, but based on direct experience or direct consciousness. Now, could I be wrong? Could anybody be wrong? Sure, of course. But you see, the whole intent, the whole purpose is to get it right, you know what I'm saying? To get it, to base it on what's obviously true, clearly true, not on what you believe. Like, if I were to show you a picture of, what are they called? Let's say magic eye, okay, because the real word's too long. In any case, right? And you look at it, you know what I'm talking about, those computer-generated printouts that were popular some time ago, and when you look into them, you see 3D, okay? And it doesn't matter. You don't see 3D for a while, right? You just see a whole bunch of patterns, garbage, repeated and stuff like that. You see it in 2D, basically. And then suddenly, if you work at it, and you've done this, perhaps, right? You suddenly see it in 3D. Now, the difference in this metaphor analogy is the difference between believing in something and actually experiencing it, so to speak, you see, using this analogy. See, I could sit there and tell you while you're looking at that, well, you see what there is there's an elephant with a shark on top and there's a palm tree next to him and stuff like that. You see, and then you believe me, but that's belief. Are you seeing that? No. You're seeing a lot of garbage. And then perhaps you try to make up, oh yeah, look, I kind of see the elephant, yeah, palm, like that. But, you're bullshitting yourself. You're trying to press your belief into your perceptions, which you will do and can do, seriously. Just take on that belief in God and watch, how you'll press your perceptions and your experience, into that paradigm, in that context. But in any case, so you try that, but if you're looking, you have to say, I don't know. Okay, you're saying that, thank you. It's not helping, okay? You're trying to look for the elephant and the shark or whatever, okay, Will it help? Maybe, probably not. See, because you're looking for the elephant. And then when you suddenly see it in 3D, you see it in 3D, right? And then you get, wait, the elephant is a pygmy elephant. I didn't know that. And it's way down here in the corner. Oh, I wasn't looking for the elephant down the corner because, I thought it was the elephant in the room. And so I was looking for it right in the middle there, see? and the shark is over here, whatever, See, but I can see it clearly. Oh my God. Oh, and you didn't tell me about the treasure chest at the bottom of the palm tree, and I didn't even know there were all kinds of I don't know, beer bottles lying around, whatever, See, but you're looking at them and you see, oh, look, you didn't mention that. See, I had no idea about that, etc. And now I see, and I can speak authoritatively on that. See? I can talk to you about it. Why? Because I'm looking right at it. You see what I'm saying here? And the chances you're wrong are minuscule. They're pretty much non-existent in this case because you actually see this, what we're meant to see. In those, magic eye things. In any case, do you see the difference? The belief and the hearsay is like you imagining and believing what people say is true on the other side of the 3D image. You see what I'm saying? See, that's not what you're invited to do. Even in the magic eye, you're not invited to do that. Nobody, is telling you what to believe in there. What's there. See, that kind of exciting to discover. See? So in any case, when you hear these things, these proclamations and assertions of all kinds about whatever, reincarnation, being a soul, a higher self, a conscious entity. No, that one's just accepted by humanity. But we'll get to it eventually. In any case, what else do people do? Heaven, God, hierarchy of truths, you got to do this before you do that, et cetera, et cetera. All these things that people come up with. You're just believing. You don't know what's true. And always stay with that, okay? Stay with that. You don't know what's true. You can hear whatever you want, right? You can think about it, consider it, contemplate the matter. But stay with you don't know what's true until you do, right? As clearly as the 3D picture, sort of analogous wise. You see? But it's very analogous to like an insight, So you don't see something, you contemplate on it, you're considering it, you investigate it, whatever, you don't see. You stay with it, you stay with it, and then boom, all of a sudden you have an insight and you see very clearly. I see, three-dimensionally, I see what's there now. Oh, cool. And it changes your relationship to stuff. Direct consciousness, on the other hand, is a little trickier than that. But still, your responsibility matters to grasp what's true, and to grasp what's true beyond you, and to grasp what's true whether it does anything for you or not. Okay? I understand that's not popular. Nobody likes that, right? Everybody wants to do something that's good for them. Okay, hey, do stuff that's good for you, right? There. There, you're done. What does that have to do with the truth? Nothing. So, don't confuse the two. You want to do stuff that's good for you? Good. Eat well, exercise, do whatever else, is good for you. Whatever you think is good for you, okay? Great. Nothing wrong with that. It beats doing stuff that's bad for you for several reasons. But that's a whole different domain. And next time, perhaps, I can talk about that domain. All right? What's good for you, what's bad for you, and why? And what differences it makes, etc. That's fine, but that's a different domain than your responsibility of the truth, you see, trying to grasp what's true. And so, for example, when you start, see, I always caution people when they ask me a question, I say, but look, pretend I don't know what you're talking about. Why? Because I don't know what you're talking about. See, when you start using, tell me about the, the chi flow in the body, Tai Chi, whatever, or tell me about, nirvana and Maishikar, or, tell me about, I don't know, whatever. I'm sorry, I'm not coming up with, I'm not sharp today, about questions, because I don't usually deal with those questions very much. And if somebody asks them, I say blue, So you're just asking me for an answer about something, and it's irrelevant. The answer is irrelevant. See, but when you say, tell me about such and such, and it's like, well, what do you mean by such and such? Why do you assume that I have a clue what you mean by such and such, Well, tell me about Satori and Nirvana and life after death and reincarnation. Tell me about the higher self. See, and then what? Are you assuming all these things are true? I don't. You see? You see the problem there? So you asking me a question about stuff. What are we talking about here? Tell me about the psychic domain of divas. What are you talking about? First of all, what do you mean by diva? I mean, what I mean by diva is somebody, kind of a arrogant person on the TV. Whatever. It's like it was a diva or something, right? See, but I don't think that's what you're talking about, right? You see, or whatever. So, I mean, there's always that aspect. You see, so when you ask a question, ask a question from your own experience, from your own contemplations. You follow. You see, don't just believe in things. And then ask me a question about a belief system that, hey, I don't believe in. You know what I'm saying? You see, you're assuming reality is a certain way. Don't do that. Don't assume that existence is what you think it is. And certainly, I mean, hey, you can ask me a question about the reality that you perceive and you really think is real. Okay, good. That's grounded in your own experience, right? Your own perceptions. Cool. Do you have a question about that for some reason? Okay. But when you're just basing it on complete hearsay from a book, you know what I'm saying? Tell me about, leaving your body and becoming in a body of light and swimming the Pleiades and on a golden ship of gossamer wings. I don't know. See, it's like, what? What? You see, I think, what are you talking about? See, and the questions sometimes, people ask are like that to me. You would think, what's stupid? It's like, what? No, that's dumb, right? But you don't think other stuff is dumb, right? The only reason, because you believe it. And you believe it because somebody said so. So what? So what? It's hearsay, but I like the hearsay. It must be true. It comes from Buddha. No, it doesn't. Trust me. What do you mean it doesn't come from Buddha? No, it doesn't, because Buddha never wrote anything down, was never recorded, etc. So none of it comes from Buddha. It comes from maybe people who studied with Buddha. Booba? Well, they're on a nickname basis, Hey, Booba. Anyway, so it comes from people maybe who study with them, Siddhartha, or more than likely people following the teaching later and later and later. We have 2,500 years to fuck that up, okay? In any case, same thing with Jesus, right? Nobody is following what Jesus wrote, because he didn't write anything, again. It's what his disciples said he said. You understand that's a little separate from what he said. I personally, I will experience somebody saying something I said, and they, from time to time, get it wrong. I mean, unless it's an exact quote, and usually it's not. See? No, hopefully they got it right, more or less, and at least the spirit of it, so you have some idea. But then take a look at where it went from there, right? After the basics were laid out, it went down into a huge amount of beliefs by people who had no idea. I mean, Christ was dead for hundreds and hundreds of years, and it goes down, different roads. They had no idea it was true. Same thing with Buddha, same thing with everybody else, all right? Newer ones may be a little fresher, Yeah, but in any case, I understand the problem, see? But the beliefs are dumb. Did I ever tell you about when I was a teenager, I believed in some stuff, right? And at one point when I was a teenager, I was studying karate, you know? And I read Black Belt Magazine, and back in those days, Black Belt Magazine was different than it is now. And there was articles and stuff like that from different people in different parts of the world. In any case, there was this one article. See, and I was a fervent karate guy. That lasted for about 2 years, and then I gave it up, because I could see clearly it was not useful. In any case, there was an article that went on for a while, a report. And this guy, a Japanese karateka, that's a karate person, went to Thailand to fight with Muay Thai. So this would be back in, 60s. Yeah, 60s. Yeah. And he got beat. And the reason he got beat is karate doesn't work and Muay Thai does, but primarily Muay Thai is actual fighting. So you actually fight and, you hit, knock people out, stuff like that, right? Karate doesn't. They just play games, kumite. In any case, and then, he got beat again. And then he got beat again. And then he got beat again. Now I have to do that, 17 times, but I'll jump to the end here. Okay, he got beat 17 times over the course of over 2 years. So like 2.5 years. Yeah, and he just stayed there and kept trying. And then, of course, in the article says, modifying his karate, over these 2 years. What does modifying his karate mean? Well, if you really grasp these things, you realize it means learn as much Muay Thai as you can. Okay, you say, learn how to fight. All right, what these guys are doing. So on the 17th, 18th time, he finally knocked out his opponent with a knee. He jumped up and hit him in the head with a knee, knocked him out. And then what was my conclusion? What would your conclusion be? Now, from the tone of my voice and the way I presented this, I'm sure you would conclude that was kind of, what he was doing didn't work, right? My conclusion, because I believed in karate so much at the time, and I was a kid, I said, see, karate is the best. I said that. Probably in my mind. I don't know if I said it out loud. But anyway, say, karate is the best. Now, how could such a conclusion be drawn? Tell me. With that evidence. I mean, seriously. You have to be really, really, really blind to what's in your face. Okay? And in this case, glaringly obvious. And yet, because he finally won, my conclusion, see, karate is the best. Now, I don't want you to fall in that same trap. See, but I grew up, okay? I got over it, all right? And I worked hard in many different times to destroy beliefs, to get past beliefs, to stop believing in things. And it took work. It took work, all right? See, but the first thing is to challenge your beliefs. And the first beliefs you can challenge easily, are the hearsay beliefs. And everything I've just been talking to you about are hearsay beliefs, what people wrote in books, what are created by religions or systems of various kinds, belief systems of various kinds, practices, this, that, and the other thing. Okay? It's all hearsay. It's all garbage. I mean, seriously. It is. It would do you no harm to throw it away. All of it. It really wouldn't. The only thing you might get from all that stuff is to think about it. See? It's like, could that be true? Oh, that's an interesting thought. That's an interesting theory. Whatever. That's an interesting assertion. Could it be true? I never thought of that. Okay, that's the most value that stuff can do. All right? Yeah. Some stuff can, walk you through explanations, whatever, that I can follow the bouncing ball. I didn't see that. They make an argument. Okay, cool. And that helps, bust up your brain or get past some assumptions you're making, or take a look at some overlooked obvious. And that can be useful. But just believing in hearsay is not ever useful, right? Okay, now I understand, like I said, sure, stuff like, is the planet round, or, scientific so-called facts or theories, sure. You think, okay, I'm just going to stand on that that's true for several reasons. One, because it's been proven to be true. Whether or not it's true or not is still up for grabs, but lots of things get really in the ballpark, okay? Kind of like, scientifically, if you stick your hand in boiling water, your hand will cook, okay? All right? It will boil and it will destroy your hand, okay? Now, you can try that out if you like. You know what I'm saying? See, but you get, okay, wait a minute. Yeah, I'm going to go along with that. And you've had enough experience, you've touched hot shit. You've probably, get some boiling water splashed on you or touched it like that. And you realize, hey, this is likely to be true, okay? This whole boiling water, and I'm going to go along with that, all right? And that's fine, see, because it's based on rigorous work. At least that's the scientific method, right? It's based on rigorous work that has been proven, et cetera, experiments, whatever, et cetera. And so you say, I'm gonna stand on that as true, because you don't have the time or inclination probably to discover for yourself everything that people have discovered about physics and chemistry and biology or whatever, right? So you trust your doctor. And the doctor says, well, you need heart surgery because your heart is like, failing. And you say, well, that's just hearsay. It's true. It is. See, but you base it on the fact that they know what they're talking about. They've studied medicine. They've studied the heart. They're a cardiologist. They've worked on it. They have evidence that your heart's failing, and also the fact that, you keep clutching your chest in pain. See? And, this kind of adds up to, okay, look, I'm going to go along with this. See? So, yes, there is valid times when a certain category of beliefs are useful to go along with. All right? But in the spiritual domain, no. Conscious domain, no. In even the social domain, no. I wouldn't, etc. It's there's too much bias, too much ignorance, too much not known, too much self-serving, etc. In all those that it's just not useful to believe in the hearsay. All right. You say, well, you might say, well, yeah, but come on. I read the Upanishads, and they're ancient. They're by Tibetan monks and enlightened Tibetan monks thousands and thousands of years ago, and they must have known what they were talking about. I hope so. I hope they discovered a lot of things that they tried to convey that are true. See, but what does that have to do with you? Okay, you say, yeah, but I'm reading them. Okay, good. You're reading them. Do you understand them? No. Come on. Between you and me, do you understand? Come on. Do you understand Immanuel Kant's Critique of Pure Reason? Come on. You haven't even read it, have you? See? You see, some things do not lend themselves. Do you understand Ralston's The Book of Not Knowing? Come on. Anyway, see, sure, maybe there's some authenticity there. You see? They also get stuff wrong. Because, they're human. They're ignorant still of some things here and there. Not as ignorant as you and me, but ignorant nonetheless. You see, and you can't base it on that. You can't base it on hearsay. At best, it just creates questions for you. And if it doesn't create questions, if it doesn't create contemplation, subject matter to contemplate, then you're not hearing it properly. So you're not using it properly. Okay? Yeah. And mostly a lot of that, come on. Just at least start with some common sense. Start with your own experience. Say, can you find any of that in your experience? Do you have any idea that heaven exists, reincarnation exists? Do you have any idea that there's, any experience, right? Any experience that there is such a thing, a higher self or nirvana or whatever, you see, or enlightenment or anything else, you see? Well, no. Well, good for you. See, that's the right place to start from. Not knowing, okay? Read my book, right? See, you start, and that's genuine. You genuinely don't know. That's authentic, okay? That's you, that's yours, that is true. And you can stand on that as being true, and you don't, you're authentic about it. You see what I'm saying? I really don't know. Great. Now find out. Contemplate it. Stay with the problem. Work on it. And you come with all kinds of stuff, and sometimes you make breakthroughs and have insights, and sometimes you won't. Sometimes it'll just be a pain in the ass. Okay? But sometimes you have insights and breakthroughs. Good. Keep going. Trust me. Keep going. Okay? There's more. No matter what enlightenment you've had, whatever breakthroughs or insights you've had, that's great. That's great. Really, honestly. But there's more. Don't stop there. Don't stop there. There's always more. Until there's not. But you ain't there. I'm not there, so don't stop. All right? See, and honor the truth. And I don't mean the truth of hearsay, okay? Please hear me on that one. Has some hearsay here. I'm saying, hear it. Okay? Say, don't just believe stuff. See, that is that's a cop-out. That's merely easily just not having a concept of what's true. Okay? Having a concept of what's true. Now, you might believe in things, and you genuinely believe it. It's not based on hearsay, and probably it's influenced by hearsay, but, and our society and our culture and stuff like that, and you don't even know how all that happens, but that's another story. In any case, you believe it. Okay. But at least you've gone to the trouble to have the concept yourself and to believe something. Okay? To believe something's true. All right. Now, that is right next to worthless, okay? But it is worthless, okay? You know what I'm saying? See, but you want to know what's really worthless is to not even go to the trouble to have the concept yourself, to have somebody else tell you the concept, and you believe it. Boy, are you lazy, all right, when you do that, all right? See, you're not even up to thinking about it for yourself. Now, that's as low on the totem pole as I can get in my world as far as, investigating the truth, okay? Because that's not investigating the truth, all right? That is just having somebody tell you something and then you believe it. Or you tell you about something and you believe it. Wow. No. Okay? No consciousness for you. Next. Okay? So any case, now I know, of course, you don't want to do that. I'm just trying to, correct some directions that people go down. All right? Okay? All right. So what were we working on? Why do people believe stuff? Anyway, be responsible. Don't believe. Find out. Okay? That's this school of thought, and I'm sticking to it. All right. Thank you, and good night.